The massive alien ship dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system like a metal moon falling from the sky. Commander Vextar stood on the bridge of the Dominion's edge, his 6 eyes studying the blue and green planet that floated in the darkness ahead of them. Behind him, his crew worked at their stations, checking weapons and preparing for what they all knew would be another easy victory. Third planet confirmed as inhabited, his science officer reported. Primitive electromagnetic communications detected. No hyperspace capability. No energy shields. They appear to be using chemical rockets for basic space travel. Vextar made a sound that might have been laughter if he were human. In his language, it sounded like metal grinding against stone. Another collection of primitives playing with fire. How many ships do they have in orbit? Approximately 200 small vessels, Commander. None larger than our smallest scout ship. Their weapons appear to be basic kinetic projectiles and simple energy beams. Pathetic. Vextar turned away from the display. Signal the Council. We have found another species suitable for integration. Begin standard conquest protocols. On Earth, 7,000 miles below the alien fleet, Dr. Ji-Won Kim was working the night shift at the Deep Space Monitoring Station in Seoul. She had been tracking radio signals from space for 12 years, always hoping to find something that would prove humanity was not alone in the universe. When her computer started screaming alerts at 3 in the morning, she thought it was another false alarm. But the energy readings were impossible to ignore. Something massive had just appeared at the edge of their solar system, and it was not from Earth. Ji-Won picked up her phone and called the emergency number that she had memorized years ago, but never expected to use. This is Dr. Kim at Deep Space Monitoring. Code Black. I repeat, Code Black. We have contact. Within 2 hours, every major government on Earth knew that aliens had arrived. President Min-ho Park of the Korean Federation was pulled from his bed and rushed to the underground command center beneath Seoul. Prime Minister Sarah Chen of the Global Defense Initiative joined him through secure video link, her face pale but determined. How many ships? Min-ho asked General Soyeon Choi, the head of Earth's military forces. Our best count is over 10,000 vessels, Soyeon replied, her voice steady despite the impossible numbers. The largest ship is bigger than our biggest city. The smallest ships are still larger than our space stations. What do they want? Asked Chen from her screen. Before anyone could answer, every television, radio, and internet connection on Earth received the same message at exactly the same time. The voice that spoke was not human, but the words were perfectly clear in every language on the planet. People of Sol 3, you are now under the authority of the Galactic Council. Your species has been selected for integration into our empire. You have 72 hours to surrender your governments and prepare your population for processing. Resistance will result in the elimination of your species. This is your only warning. The message played 3 times, then ended. The silence in the command center lasted for exactly 10 seconds. Processing, Min-ho asked quietly. Hyun Lee, the director of Earth's Deep Space Intelligence Division, pulled up files on his tablet. Sir, we've been studying this possibility for decades, based on the few alien encounters we've documented. Processing likely means they keep some humans as workers or soldiers and eliminate the rest. Integration means becoming slaves. How long until they reach Earth? Soyeon asked. At their current speed, 6 days, replied Ji-Won through the video link from her monitoring station. Min-ho looked around the room at the faces of Earth's leaders. Gentlemen, ladies, I think it's time to activate the Prometheus Protocol. The Prometheus Protocol was humanity's deepest secret. For 75 years, since the first reported alien crash in 1947, a small group of world leaders had been preparing for this exact moment. Every alien encounter, every crashed ship, every person who claimed to have been taken by aliens had been studied, analyzed, and learned from. While the public debated whether aliens existed, Earth's governments had been building weapons designed specifically to fight them. Are you certain, Mr. President? Asked General Choi. Once we activate Prometheus, there's no going back. The whole world will know what we've been hiding. They're going to eliminate most of humanity, Min-ho replied. I think our secrets are less important than our survival. In the hours that followed, secret messages went out to military bases, research facilities, and hidden installations around the world and throughout the solar system. On the moon, Colonel Kwang-Soo Kim received orders to prepare Luna Base's hidden weapons. On Mars, Captain Min-Suk Oh powered up defensive systems that the public believed were just mining equipment. In the asteroid belt, dozens of disguised weapons platforms began targeting the approaching alien fleet. Dr. Junho Song, working in a laboratory buried 3 miles beneath the Swiss Alps, activated quantum disruption technology that humanity had reverse-engineered from alien technology decades earlier. Similar devices hidden throughout the solar system came online, ready to jam alien communications and disrupt their faster-than-light drives. But the most important preparation was happening on Earth itself. Admiral Yuna Shin sent coded messages to millions of people around the world. Shop owners, teachers, farmers, and office workers received simple text messages that activated their real identities as members of the Deep Cover Defense Corps. For ETU, 3 generations, 1 in every 100 humans had been secretly trained and equipped for alien invasion. They lived normal lives, raised families, and worked regular jobs. But when the call came, they would become humanity's hidden army. The aliens had made a critical error. They assumed that a species with primitive space technology would be helpless against advanced alien weapons. They were about to learn that humans had spent thousands of years becoming very, very good at killing things that threatened them. On the alien flagship, Commander Vexitar was feeling confident. The planet ahead showed no signs of preparation for war. No new ships had launched, no weapons platforms had been built, no defensive formations were being prepared. The humans appeared to be doing exactly what most primitive species did when faced with overwhelming force. Nothing. Sir, his communications officer reported. We're receiving a transmission from the planet. Put it through, Vexitar ordered. The face that appeared on his screen belonged to a human male wearing what appeared to be primitive clothing. The human spoke in a calm, even voice. This is Ambassador Jin Wuhan, speaking for the United Government of Earth. We have received your message and considered your offer carefully. We must respectfully decline. We request that you leave our solar system immediately. Vexitar's translator had trouble with some of the words. Decline? Request? These were not concepts that primitive species usually used when faced with the Galactic Council. Human, Vexitar replied. You misunderstand your situation. We are not making a request. We are giving you an order. You will surrender or you will be eliminated. I understand your position, Jinwoo replied, but I'm afraid we cannot accept your terms. You have 48 hours to begin your withdrawal from our system. Withdrawal? Vexitar's voice carried the harsh sound of alien laughter. Primitive creature, your entire species could not scratch the paint on one of our smallest ships. You have no weapons that could threaten us? Jinwoo checked something that looked like a primitive timekeeping device. Actually, you have approximately 6 minutes to reconsider that statement. The transmission ended. Vexitar stared at the blank screen for a moment, then turned to his tactical officer. Scan the system again, full military analysis. I want to know about every human weapon, every ship, every defensive position. Sir, scans show the same results as before. Primitive kinetic weapons, basic energy systems, no significant military presence in space. Then what was that human talking about? He got his answer 4 minutes later. The first sign of trouble was when half of his fleet suddenly lost the ability to jump to hyperspace. Quantum disruption fields, somehow generated by the humans, jammed faster-than-light communications and trapped the alien ships in normal space. The second sign was when objects moving at nearly the speed of light began tearing through his ship's shields like they were made of paper. Sir, his tactical officer screamed, we're under attack. Kinetic bombardment from multiple sources. How are they accelerating projectiles to these velocities? On Luna Base, Colonel Kwang-Soo Kim watched his electromagnetic railguns send tungsten rods screaming toward the alien fleet at a significant fraction of light speed. Similar weapons on Mars, Europa, and hidden asteroids throughout the system opened fire simultaneously. The aliens had been expecting primitive missiles and simple energy weapons. They were not prepared for projectiles moving fast enough to punch. through their shields and armor like bullets through tissue paper. "Sir," Admiral Yuna Shin reported to General Choi from her command ship, "Phase 1 is complete. Enemy fleet is 40% disabled and completely cut off from faster-than-light travel. Initiating Phase 2. Around Earth, 50 ships that had been disguised as space debris suddenly powered up and revealed themselves as humanity's secret defense fleet. Each ship had been built using technology learned from 75 years of. The Galactic Council's emergency session had been called for the first time in 3,000 years. In the Great Crystal Chamber on Nexus Prime, representatives from 47 different species gathered to discuss what should have been impossible. A primitive species had defeated a Council invasion fleet. High Counselor Mordak, whose species had been conquering others for 50,000 years, stood before the assembled representatives. His forearms gestured at the holographic display, showing the remains of Commander Vextar's fleet. "Explain to me," Mordak said, his voice carrying the authority of eons, "how creatures that have not even left their home star system managed to destroy 60% of a Council battle group." Commander Vextar, what remained of his pride shattered, along with his ships, stepped forward. "High Counselor, these humans are not the primitive species our intelligence suggested. They possess quantum disruption technology, relativistic kinetic weapons, and advanced tactical coordination. Somehow they have been preparing specifically for war against Council forces." "Preparing?" Counselor Zethara of the Helix Empire made a sound of disbelief. "How could they prepare for us? We've never made formal contact with their species." "That's not entirely accurate," admitted Intelligence Director Kolveth. "Our records show 17 scout ship losses in the Sol system over the past 75 standard years. We assumed they were accidents or equipment failures." 17 ships? Mordak's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. "And you didn't think to investigate?" "The ships were scouts, High Counselor. Old technology. We didn't consider the possibility that primitives could learn from studying the wreckage." In the silence that followed, every representative in the chamber began to understand the magnitude of the error. For 3/4 of a century, the humans had been studying Council technology, learning Council weaknesses, and preparing for the day when the Council would come for them. "What are your recommendations?" Mordak asked finally. "Immediate mobilization of the full Council fleet," declared War Admiral Thokron. "If these humans have somehow developed dangerous technology, we must crush them before they can spread their knowledge to other species." "No." The voice belonged to Sage Yilmoth, the oldest member of the Council. "Send a diplomatic mission. First, assess their true capabilities. Understand what we're facing before we commit our full military strength." 3 days later, the Council diplomatic vessel Eternal Dominion entered the Sol system under a flag of truce. Ambassador Jinwoo Han and a small team of human diplomats were transported aboard to meet with the Council representatives. The Council chamber aboard the ship was designed to intimidate. Massive holographic displays showed the extent of Council territory, stretching across half the galaxy. Representatives of dozens of conquered species lined the walls, living examples of what happened to those who opposed Council authority. High Ambassador Torgan, representing the Council's interests, gestured for the humans to approach the central platform. "Humans of Sol 3, you have demonstrated unexpected capabilities in your recent encounter with our forces. The Council is prepared to offer you revised terms for integration." Jinwoo walked calmly to the center of the chamber, flanked by Dr. Jiwon, Kim, and General Soyeon Choi. He looked around at the assembled alien representatives without visible fear. "We appreciate your willingness to negotiate," Jinwoo replied. "What are your revised terms?" "Instead of the standard processing of your population, the Council will permit 50% of your species to survive as productive members of our empire. Your military leaders will be given positions of authority over conquered territories. Your scientists will contribute to Council research projects. Your best warriors will join Council forces." "And the other 50%? Torgan made a dismissive gesture. "Eliminated. Your planet is overpopulated by Council standards, and we have no need for excess population." Jinwoo was quiet for a long moment. I see. And if we refuse these generous terms? Then we will return with the full council fleet, 1,000 battle groups, 10 million ships. Your demonstration of limited defensive capability will not save you from the combined military might of the galaxy. Dr. Ji-Won Kim stepped forward. Ambassador Torgun, may I ask how many species the Council has conquered using these same terms? Over 10,000 species across 50,000 years, Torgun replied proudly. The Council brings order and civilization to the galaxy. And how many of those species agreed to your terms willingly? All of them, eventually. Fascinating. Ji-Won turned to her tablet and made some notes. And in those 50,000 years, has any species ever successfully resisted Council integration? Torgun's translator seemed to have trouble with the concept. Resisted? No species can resist the Council. Resistance is futile against superior technology and overwhelming numbers. General Soyeon Choi spoke for the first time. Superior technology. That's interesting. Tell me, Ambassador, what do you know about human military history? Your species engages in primitive conflicts using crude weapons. You fight among yourselves instead of uniting against external threats. Your military technology is thousands of years behind Council standards. That's where you're wrong, Soyeon replied calmly. Humans don't just fight among ourselves. We fight everything that threatens us. We've been fighting for survival for millions of years. Every predator on our planet, every disease, every natural disaster, every extinction event. We've survived them all. Your point? Our point, Jinwoo said, is that we've had a lot of practice. We've also had 75 years to study your technology and prepare for this moment. Behind them, the massive viewing screen showed the Sol system. What the Council representatives saw made several of them step backward in alarm. The system was full of ships. Not hundreds of ships. Not thousands. Tens of thousands of human vessels filled the space between the planets, all of them hidden until this moment by advanced stealth technology. Orbital weapons platforms surrounded Earth, Mars, and Jupiter. The asteroid belt revealed itself to be a massive weapons complex. Even Earth's moon showed launching bays and defensive installations that hadn't been there during the first attack. Impossible, whispered Torgun. Our scans showed no significant military presence. Your scans showed what we wanted them to show, Dr. Ji-Won Kim replied. We've been hiding our true military capabilities for decades. What you saw during your first attack was approximately 5% of Earth's actual defensive strength. But the timeline is impossible. You couldn't have built all of this in just a few days. We've been building it for 75 years, General Soyeon Choi explained. Every crashed Council ship taught us something new. Every abducted human who returned brought us information about your technology and tactics. Every probe that malfunctioned in our system gave us parts to study and reverse engineer. We've also been preparing our population, Jinwoo added. 1 in every 100 humans is a trained military operative. Our farmers know how to use plasma weapons. Our teachers can operate starship weapon systems. Our children learn tactical coordination along with mathematics. Torgun's 4 eyes widened as he began to understand. You've militarized your entire species. We've prepared our species for survival, Jinwoo corrected. There's a difference. What are your terms? Torgun asked quietly. Simple. Leave our system immediately. Never return, and spread the word to every Council world that Earth is not interested in integration, conquest, or any other form of Council authority. And if the Council refuses? Jinwoo smiled, and there was something in that expression that made several alien representatives step backward. Then we'll demonstrate why apex predators survive, and everything else becomes extinct. The holographic display shifted to show tactical information that made every Council representative in the room go silent. Human ships weren't just hiding in the Sol system. They were positioned at 17 different Council border worlds, using faster-than-light technology that shouldn't exist. How? Torgun whispered. We're fast learners, Dr. Ji-Won Kim replied. Your scout ships used quantum tunneling drives. Once we understood the principles, improving the design was just a matter of human engineering. You have ships at our worlds? Not just ships, General Soyeon Choi said. Complete invasion fleets, equipped with weapons specifically designed to penetrate Council defenses. Right now, they're just observing. But if we give the signal, the threat hung in the air like a physical presence. For 50,000 years, the Council had been the predators of the galaxy. Now they were face to face with something that hunted. Predators. This is not possible, Torgun said, but his voice lacked conviction. No primitive species could develop this level of technology so quickly. We're not primitive, Jinwoo replied. We're human. We adapt, we learn, and we never stop preparing for the next threat. That's how we survived on a planet that spent 4 billion years trying to kill us. What you're describing is impossible. One species cannot threaten the entire Galactic Council. One species just did, Soyeon pointed out. The question now is what you're going to do about it. Torgun looked around the chamber at his fellow council members. For the first time in 50,000 years, they were facing an enemy that had been preparing specifically to fight them. An enemy that had turned their own technology against them. The council's response came exactly 72 hours after the diplomatic meeting ended. Not words, but actions. The largest military fleet in galactic history dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. 1,000 battle groups, 10 million ships representing the combined military might of 47 species. High Admiral Zekmora commanded the assault from his flagship Galactic Dominion, a ship larger than Earth's moon. He had been chosen for this mission because he had never lost a battle in 8,000 years of warfare. Today, he was confident, would be no different. All fleet commanders report ready, his tactical coordinator announced. Total ship count, 10,247,000 vessels. Estimated enemy strength, approximately 50,000 primitive ships. Begin the attack, Zekmora ordered. Show these humans what happens when primitives challenge the natural order of the galaxy. On Earth, President Minho Park stood in the deep command bunker beneath Sol, surrounded by representatives from every nation on the planet. Above them, the skies darkened as millions of alien ships blotted out the sun. Gentlemen, ladies, Minho said calmly, today we find out whether 75 years of preparation was enough. General Soyeon Choi activated her command console. All stations report ready. Luna Base, Mars Command, Jupiter Defense Network, and Asteroid Belt Weapons Grid are online. Operation Prometheus is authorized. Dr. Junho Song, working from his laboratory deep in the Swiss mountains, initiated the first phase of humanity's defense. Activating quantum disruption field, galaxy-wide. What happened next had never been attempted before in the history of galactic warfare. Using technology reverse-engineered from crashed council ships and improved by human engineering, humanity activated a quantum field that stretched across half the galaxy. Every council ship within 50 light-years of Earth suddenly lost the ability to jump to hyperspace. Sir, Zekmora's science officer called out in alarm. Hyperspace drives are non-functional. We're trapped in normal space. How is that possible? The energy requirements for a field of this magnitude should be impossible for a single planet. What the Admiral didn't know was that Earth wasn't generating the field alone. Hidden installations on a dozen uninhabited worlds throughout the galaxy, built in secret over decades, were working together to create a prison that no council ship could escape. Sir, we're also losing faster-than-light communications. They're jamming subspace frequencies across the entire engagement zone. Admiral Yuna Shin, commanding Earth's defense fleet from her flagship Retribution, smiled as she watched the alien formation begin to falter. Phase 1 complete. Enemy fleet is trapped and cannot communicate with Council headquarters. Initiating Phase 2. Around Earth, the space that had appeared empty suddenly filled with ships. Not the few thousand that the Council had detected, but over 100,000 human vessels, all of them equipped with weapons designed specifically to fight Council technology. Impossible! Zekmora stared at his tactical display as human ships appeared everywhere around his fleet. Where did they all come from? Captain Minseok, commanding one of the human destroyer squadrons, activated his communication system. Council fleet, this is Captain O of the Earth Defense Force. You are trapped in our space, cut off from reinforcement and surrounded by forces you cannot retreat from. This is your final opportunity to surrender. Surrender? Zekmora's voice carried 8,000 years of outrage. The Galactic Council does not surrender to primitives. Your choice, Minsuk replied. All human ships, weapons free. Show them what happens when you threaten Earth. The battle that followed redefined the concept of space warfare. The Council had expected to face primitive missiles and simple energy weapons. Instead, they faced weapons that had been designed by studying their own technology for decades and then improving it using human innovation. Colonel Kwang-Soo Kim, commanding Luna Base's primary weapons, fired the first shot. But this wasn't the simple kinetic bombardment from the first battle. This was a relativistic particle beam that tore through Council shields like they didn't exist, destroying 12 battle cruisers with a single shot. Sir, Zekmora's tactical officer reported, his voice shaking. They're not using standard kinetic weapons anymore. These are enhanced particle beams with quantum disruption properties. They're tearing through our shields and armor like paper. How can primitives have quantum-enhanced weapons? The answer came from Dr. Junho Song's laboratory, where human scientists had spent decades studying every crashed Council ship. They had learned how Council shields worked, how Council armor was constructed, how Council weapons were powered. Then they had designed weapons that could defeat every single Council defense. Commander Hyun Lee coordinated Earth's orbital defense platforms as they revealed their true capabilities. What the Council had thought were simple laser weapons were actually quantum cascade systems that could punch holes through anything in the known universe. Targeting Council command ship, Hyun reported. Quantum cascade at full power. The beam that struck Zekmora's flagship didn't just damage it. The quantum cascade effect spread through the ship's hull like liquid fire, converting matter directly into energy. The ship that had survived battles across the galaxy for thousands of years simply ceased to exist. All command vessels, evasive maneuvers, Zekmora broadcast from his backup command ship. These weapons are unlike anything in our databases, but there was nowhere to run. Earth's ships were everywhere, appearing and disappearing using stealth, technology that made them impossible to track. Every time the Council fleet tried to form defensive positions, human ships struck from unexpected directions. Captain Yuna Shin led her squadron in a direct assault on the Council's heavy battle line. Her ships used quantum tunneling technology to appear inside the enemy formation, fire point-blank shots that couldn't miss, then disappear before return fire could reach them. Sir, her tactical officer reported, enemy fleet is breaking formation. They're trying to scatter. Don't let them, Yuna replied. If any of these ships escape, they'll report our capabilities to the Council. This ends here today. The human fleet moved like a single organism, coordinating attacks across thousands of ships with precision that amazed even their own commanders. This was the result of decades of preparation, with every human military officer trained for this exact battle. Dr. Jiwon Kim, monitoring the battle from Earth's command center, watched as the largest military fleet in galactic history was systematically destroyed by forces they couldn't understand or counter. Enemy fleet strength down to 60% and falling, she reported. Remaining ships are attempting to retreat but cannot escape the interdiction field. Sir, Zekmora's remaining tactical officer reported, we've lost contact with over half our fleet. Enemy forces are using weapons and tactics we have no countermeasures for. Recommend immediate withdrawal. We cannot withdraw, Zekmora roared. The quantum field prevents hyperspace travel. Then we're trapped here until they decide to let us go or until they destroy us all. It was then that Zekmora began to understand the true scope of the human strategy. This wasn't just a battle, it was a demonstration. The humans were showing the galaxy exactly what happened to anyone who threatened Earth. Ambassador Jinwoo Han's voice came through on all Council communication frequencies, somehow bypassing every security protocol they had. Admiral Zekmora, this is Ambassador Han. I believe we've made our point. You now have a choice to make. What choice? Zekmora asked, staring at his tactical display showing the destruction of the greatest fleet ever assembled. You can continue fighting until every Council ship in this system is destroyed, or you can accept our terms and leave with whatever ships you have left. What terms? Simple. The Galactic Council will issue a galaxy-wide declaration that Earth, and the Sol system are off-limits to all Council forces. Any Council ship that enters our space will be considered an act of war. Any attempt to interfere with human activities in neutral space will result in immediate military retaliation. And if the Council refuses these terms, General Soyeon Choi's voice joined the conversation. Then we'll demonstrate what happens when humans go on the offensive instead of just defending our home. New contacts appeared on every Council ship's sensors, human fleets positioned at strategic locations throughout Council territory, fleets that shouldn't exist, using technology that shouldn't be possible. How long have you been preparing this? Zekmora whispered. 75 years, Dr. Junho Song replied from his laboratory. Every crashed ship, every abducted human, every probe that failed in our system taught us something new. We used that knowledge to prepare for the day when the Council would come for us. But this level of coordination, this technology, this strategic planning, it should have taken centuries. It would have taken your species centuries, Captain, Minseoko said. But humans are very good at learning quickly when our survival depends on it. The battle was ending, not because the humans had run out of targets, but because they had proven their point. Of the 10 million ships that had entered the Sol system, fewer than 3 million remained functional. Admiral Zekmora, Jin Wuhan, said, "You have 1 hour to gather your surviving ships and leave our system. The interdiction field will be lowered to allow your departure. If you ever return, the news of the Council's defeat at Earth spread through the galaxy faster than their fastest ships could carry it. On Nexus Prime, the Council's capital world, emergency sessions ran day and night as representatives tried to understand how 50,000 years of galactic dominance had ended in a single battle. High Counselor Mordak stood before the assembled representatives, his forearms trembling with rage and something that might have been fear. Explain to me how a single primitive world destroyed the largest fleet in galactic history. Admiral Zekmora, his pride as shattered as his fleet, stepped forward. High Counselor, these humans are not primitive. They have been preparing specifically for war against us for 75 standard years. Their technology is based on our own designs but improved beyond our current capabilities. Improved? By primitives? By apex predators? Zekmora corrected. High Counselor, I have fought battles across the galaxy for 8,000 years. I have never encountered anything like these humans. They don't just fight to win. They fight to ensure their enemies can never threaten them again. Intelligence Director Kolveth activated a holographic display showing the battle damage. Our initial analysis suggests the humans used quantum cascade weapons, relativistic particle beams, and interdiction fields that can cover half a galaxy. The energy requirements alone should be impossible for a single world. But they're not a single world anymore, reported Scout Commander Velthos, who had just returned from the frontier regions. We're receiving reports from 17 different sectors. Human ships have been detected near Council worlds throughout our territory. The chamber fell silent. The implications were staggering. How many ships? Mordak asked quietly. Thousands at each location, sir. Complete battle fleets, all equipped with the same advanced weapons they used against Admiral Zekmora's forces. Counselor Zethara of the Helix Empire rose from her seat. This is impossible. They couldn't have built that many ships without our intelligence networks detecting the construction. Unless they've been building them in secret for decades, Kolveth replied. Our analysis suggests they have manufacturing facilities hidden throughout neutral space, and even in some of our own territory. On Earth, President Minho Park was meeting with the leaders of humanity's new expansion fleet. The victory over the Ur Council had given them breathing room, but everyone knew this was just the beginning. What's our current deployment status? Minho asked Admiral Yuna Shin. We have observation fleets positioned near 43 Council worlds, Yuna reported. Each fleet is equipped for full planetary assault if necessary. Additionally, we've established hidden bases in 12 different star systems along major hyperspace routes. Dr. Jiwon Kim pulled up intelligence reports on her tablet. Council communications are in chaos. They're receiving reports of human ships from all over their territory. Most of their commanders think we have hundreds of thousands of vessels. How many do we actually have? asked General Soyun Choi. Approximately 20,000 ships total, Admiral Yuna replied. But we're using quantum mirroring technology to make each fleet appear much larger than it actually is. From the Council's perspective, they're facing an invasion force of over 500,000 ships. Commander Hyun Lee, now in charge of psychological warfare operations, smiled. Fear is often more effective than actual weapons. Right now, every Council world is looking at their sensors and wondering when the human attack will come. And will it come? Minho asked. Only if they force us to make it come, replied Dr. Junho Song, who had been placed in charge of humanity's new weapons development program. But they don't know that. From their perspective, we could strike at any moment. The strategy was working, better than anyone had hoped. Across Council space, panic was spreading faster than accurate information. On the industrial world of Kelax Prime, workers in the orbital shipyards reported seeing human ships in the outer system. The sightings were probably false alarms, but the planetary governor ordered immediate evacuation of all military personnel. On the fortress world of Thangar, the entire defense fleet was recalled from patrol duties to defend the home system against a human attack that might never come. Similar defensive measures were being taken on dozens of worlds throughout Council territory. Sir, reported Intelligence Director Kolveth during another emergency council session, we're receiving surrender requests from 14 different member species. They want to withdraw from Council territory before the humans attack. Surrender. Requests? High Counselor Mordek's voice carried 50,000 years of imperial outrage. Member species don't surrender to enemies of the Council. They do if they believe the alternative is extinction, sir. The reports kept coming. The Zalari Confederation had declared neutrality and requested human protection. The orphan colonies had announced their withdrawal from Council authority. 3 different species had sent diplomatic missions to Earth offering alliance agreements. How did this happen? Mordek demanded. One battle, one defeat, and our entire empire is falling apart. Because it wasn't just a battle, sir, Admiral Zekmora replied. It was a demonstration. The humans showed the galaxy that the Council can be defeated. Every species that ever resented Council rule now believes they have a chance for freedom on Earth. Ambassador Jinwoo Han was dealing with an unexpected problem. Too many aliens wanting to talk to humanity. We're receiving diplomatic requests from over 200 different species, he reported to President Minho Park. Most of them want protection from the Council. Some are offering technology or resources in exchange for alliance agreements. What do we do with them all? Minho asked. We talk to them, General Soyun Choi replied. But carefully. We need to understand what we're dealing with before we make any commitments. Dr. Jiwon Kim was monitoring communications intercepts from throughout the galaxy. The Council is trying to maintain control, but they're failing. Too many member species are questioning their authority. Some worlds are reporting civil wars between Council loyalists and independence movements. Are we responsible for that? Minho asked. Indirectly, replied Dr. Junho Song. We showed them that the Council can be defeated. Everything that's happening now is the result of species choosing freedom over servitude. The first formal diplomatic contact came from an unexpected source. The Kethmoran Republic, one of the Council's oldest and most powerful member species, requested a meeting with human representatives. Ambassador Tormeg of the Kethmoran arrived at Earth with a small diplomatic fleet, moving carefully through the human defense perimeter that still surrounded the Sol system. Humans of Earth, Tormeg transmitted as his ship approached. The Kethmoran Republic requests formal diplomatic relations. We wish to discuss mutual defense agreements and possible cooperation against Council aggression. Jinwoo Han met with the Kethmoran delegation in Earth's new orbital diplomatic station. Ambassador Tormeg, we appreciate your interest in diplomatic relations, but we need to understand your position. Are you still members of the Galactic Council? As of yesterday, no, Tormeg replied. The Kethmoran Republic has formally withdrawn from Council authority. We are now an independent nation, and we would like to remain that way. What do you want from us? Protection. The Council will not allow member species to leave voluntarily. They will send fleets to force our return. To their authority. We need allies who can help us maintain our independence. Dr. Jiwon Kim leaned forward. What can you offer in return? Technology, resources, intelligence about Council military capabilities, and most importantly, legitimacy. If humans ally with established galactic civilizations, other species will be more likely to join your cause. General Soyeon Choi studied the alien diplomat carefully. Our cause? We don't have a cause beyond protecting Earth and maintaining our independence. Perhaps, Tormeg replied, but your actions have created a cause whether you intended to or not. Half the galaxy now sees humanity as the symbol of resistance to Council tyranny. Species that have been enslaved for thousands of years are looking to you for leadership. We never asked for that responsibility, Jinwoo pointed out. No species asks to become the catalyst for galactic revolution, Tormeg replied. But sometimes history chooses its heroes without consulting them. Back on Nexus Prime, High Counselor, Mordek was facing the worst crisis in Council history. The latest reports showed that 23 species had declared independence, 47 worlds had requested human protection, and civil wars were breaking out in 12 different sectors. We need to act decisively, declared War Admiral Thokran. Send the remaining fleets to crush these rebellions before they spread further. With what fleets? Admiral Zekmora asked bitterly. We lost 70% of our military strength at Earth. The remaining forces are barely sufficient to defend our core worlds. Then we negotiate, suggested Counselor Zathara. Contact the humans directly. Offer them territory, resources, whatever they want in exchange for ending their interference in Council affairs. They're not interfering. Intelligence Director. Kulveth reported. That's what makes this so dangerous. The humans haven't attacked a single Council world since the battle at Earth. They're just sitting there watching while our empire collapses around us. Then what do they want? To be left. 2 years had passed since the battle that changed the galaxy forever. The Galactic Council still existed, but it was a shadow of its former power. What had once been an empire spanning millions of worlds was now reduced to fewer than 1,000. Systems, and even those, were constantly threatened by independence movements. On Earth, President Minho Park stood in the newly constructed Galactic Affairs Building in Geneva, looking out at the representatives of over 300 different species who had come to attend the first Interstellar Freedom Alliance Summit. 2 years ago, Minho said to Ambassador Jinwoo Han, we were worried about aliens coming to conquer us. Now we're hosting a galactic government in Switzerland. Technically, we're not hosting a government, Jinwoo replied. We're hosting an alliance of free species who choose to cooperate rather than being forced to serve. The difference was important. Unlike the Galactic Council, which ruled through fear and superior technology, the Interstellar Freedom Alliance operated on principles of voluntary cooperation and mutual defense. Any species could join, and any species could leave whenever they chose. Dr. Jiwon Kim approached them with a tablet full of reports. The latest membership applications are in. 47 new species want to join the alliance this month. That brings our total to over 800 member civilizations. How many of those were former council members? Minho asked. About 60%. The rest are species that were never contacted by the council or were hiding from them in frontier regions. General Soyeon Choi joined the conversation, carrying her own set of reports. Speaking of the council, their latest fleet movement suggests they're planning something. Intelligence indicates they're massing ships near the Helix Nebula. How many ships? Jinwoo asked. Approximately 50,000 vessels. It's the largest fleet they've been able to assemble since the battle at Earth. Minho sighed. Are they planning to attack us? Unknown. But Admiral Yuna Shin has positioned our rapid response fleets to intercept them if they move toward Alliance territory. The truth was that humanity had become something they never intended to be, the military backbone of galactic freedom. Human fleets patrolled trade routes, protected vulnerable worlds, and responded to threats throughout Alliance space. It was a responsibility that grew heavier with each passing month. Dr. Junho Song arrived from his laboratory complex, now the largest research facility in the galaxy, Scientists from hundreds of species worked together to develop new technologies and solve problems that had plagued their worlds for centuries. Any progress on the terraforming project? Minho asked. Better than expected, Junho replied. Using combined human and Kethmaran technology, we can now make dead worlds habitable in less than 50 years instead of thousands. We've already started work on 12 different systems. And the medical research? Even better news. The Zephyrian knowledge of quantum biology, combined with human genetic engineering, has produced cures for diseases that have killed billions across the galaxy. We're distributing the treatments freely to all Alliance members. This was perhaps humanity's greatest contribution to galactic civilization. They shared their knowledge freely, instead of hoarding it for advantage. Every breakthrough, every innovation, every new technology was made available to all Alliance members without cost or conditions. Commander Hyun Lee approached the group with urgent news. Sirs, we're receiving a priority transmission from the frontier regions. Captain Min Seok-oh reports first contact with a previously unknown species. Hostile or friendly? Soyeon asked immediately. Unknown. But they're not responding to standard diplomatic protocols. They appear to be different. On the bridge of the exploration vessel New Horizon, Captain Min Seok-oh studied the alien ship that had appeared at the edge of the system. It was unlike anything in the Alliance databases, crystalline structures that seemed to shift and change as he watched. Any response to our greeting transmissions? He asked his communications officer. No, sir, but we are detecting some kind of energy pattern from their ship. It's almost like music. Music? Dr. Yuna Kang, the ship's xenobiologist, looked up from her scanners with excitement. Captain, I think they're trying to communicate through harmonic frequencies. This could be a species that evolved sound-based communication instead of electromagnetic. Candy-wan. We respond? Give me a few minutes to recalibrate our systems. 15 minutes later, the New Horizon transmitted humanity's first musical message to an alien species. The response was immediate and beautiful, complex harmonic patterns that somehow conveyed peaceful intentions and curiosity. Captain, Doctor, Kang announced, I believe we've just made first contact with our first truly alien civilization, not just different biology, but completely different ways of thinking and communicating. Back on Earth, the news of first contact with the crystalline beings created excitement throughout the Alliance. After 2 years of dealing with former Council species, meeting someone completely new was refreshing. What do they call themselves? Ambassador Jin Woo asked during the briefing. The closest translation is the harmony, Captain Minsuk reported, via quantum communication. There are actually multiple species that evolved together on the same world, communicating through sound and vibration. They've developed technology based on acoustic manipulation instead of electromagnetic fields. Are they interested in joining the Alliance? They're interested in learning about us, but they're also concerned. They've heard about the war with the Council, and they're not sure they want to get involved in galactic politics. President Min-ho Park considered this. Tell them we understand their concerns. The Alliance doesn't require members to participate in military operations. We're happy to establish peaceful relations and cultural exchange without any political obligations. This had become humanity's standard approach to first contact. Friendship without pressure, cooperation without coercion. It was the opposite of the Council's methods, and it was proving remarkably effective. 3 days later, urgent news arrived from the frontier. Admiral Yuna Shin's fleet had encountered the Council's massed forces near the Helix Nebula, but the aliens weren't attacking Alliance territory. They were fleeing from something else. Sir, Admiral Yuna reported, the Council fleet is in full retreat from something in the Galactic Rim regions. They're requesting passage through Alliance space to reach their home territories. Did they say what they're running from? General Soyeon asked. They call them the Devourers. Apparently, it's a species that consumes entire worlds, turning all organic matter into more of themselves. The Council encountered them 3 months ago and has been retreating ever since. The war room fell silent as the implications sank in. If something was dangerous enough to make the Galactic Council run in terror, it was a threat to every living being in the galaxy. How far away are these Devourers? Minho asked. approximately 6 months at their current rate of expansion. They've already consumed 12 council worlds and show no signs of slowing down. Dr. Jiwon Kim pulled up galactic maps on her tablet. If they continue at this rate, they'll reach Alliance territory within 2 years. What do we know about them? Very little, Admiral Yuna replied. The Council forces that escape describe them as a collective intelligence that turns everything they touch into more of themselves. They don't communicate, they don't negotiate, they just consume. Ambassador Jin Woo Han looked around the room. Gentlemen, ladies, I think we're about to face our first real test as a galactic alliance. The question is, do we help our former enemies fight a threat to all organic life? Of course we do, President Minho replied immediately. We're not fighting for the Council, we're fighting for every living being in the galaxy. General Soyeon Choi was already making plans. We'll need a combined fleet. Human ships, Alliance members, and whatever Council forces are still functional. This isn't about politics anymore. It's about survival. Dr. Junho Song was studying the limited data they had about the Devourers. If these creatures can convert organic matter into more of themselves, traditional weapons might not be effective. We need to understand their biology before we can figure out how to stop them. How long do we have? Minho asked. Based on their current expansion rate, 6 months before they reach the Outer Alliance territories, Dr. Jiwon replied. But if they accelerate or split their forces, we could have contact much sooner. Admiral Yuna Shin's voice came through the communication system. Sir, the Council fleet is requesting immediate assistance. They're willing to share all their data about the Devourers and place their remaining forces under Alliance command. The irony was not lost on anyone in the room. 2 years ago, the Council had come to destroy humanity. Now they were begging for human help against a threat they couldn't handle alone. Tell them yes, Minho decided. But make it clear that this is a temporary alliance against a common threat. Once the Devourers are dealt with, we go back to our separate ways. Actually, sir, Jinwoo said thoughtfully, this might be an opportunity to do something unprecedented. What do you mean? Think about it. For 50,000 years, the galaxy has been divided between rulers and subjects, conquerors and conquered. But now we have a threat that doesn't care about politics or power. It just wants to consume everything. Your point? My point is that this crisis